How to Quantum Leap. A tutorial on altering your own reality by Felix Warren. First of all, what is quantum leaping? Quantum leaping is just one term of many for what is simply pushing your perception outside of your own reality and entering the reality of someone else or something else. Quantum leaping occurs when one manages to bridge the barrier of their own personality to the degree that their entire reality warps. This is why some out-of-body experiences are a quantum leap and some out-of-body experiences are not so much. There are a lot of remote viewing exercises that one can go through where there's no personality warping whatsoever and no warping of reality resulting. Usually these experiences are a good way to start on the path to quantum leaping, as they exercise the same muscles that quantum leaping also requires. So getting into how to do this, step 1. Choose a destination. Now, because you're jumping into a completely different reality, the destination isn't going to be so simple as looking at an atlas. There's where to go, but there's also who to be. You can go to certain places on Earth or even in space if you want. You can go to other time periods and other universes. But you're also going to be occupying either a person or an object, or at least a place in space. Typically, you're going to be either yourself elsewhere in your own timeline as you exist currently, so either yourself in childhood, or yourself in old age, or yourself as you are now, or maybe you are in one of those things already, in which case, hi, welcome to the video. You could be one of your multiverse selves. A multiverse self would be one who exists in a parallel or alternate world where things simply happen differently. And so you are your same self, but you've gone through different circumstances and you experience a different reality day to day. Then there are past and future lives where you could still be in this reality, but it would be so far in the past that you're actually in a different life, or so far in the future that, again, you're in a different life. And so that life is going to have a completely different childhood and adulthood and span of events. You can also end up occupying the experience of other people, and you can even occupy the experience of animals. You can occupy the experience of no one at all, because you can even be a car if you want. You can be a rock on a ledge witnessing the entire scene around you. You can be no one and nothing at all, just be the void witnessing whatever's going on around it. But you do need to know where to go and who to be before you do your jump, or else it's probably going to get determined randomly. Step 2, choose a purpose. This is all about why. Why is it that you want to jump? Since obviously you want to jump if you're looking at this tutorial. And it can be a simple answer. It just needs to be an answer. You can be jumping in pursuit of knowledge to find out something specific. You could be jumping out of curiosity just to see what it's like. Self-exploration, self-care, testing the limits of human ability. You can be jumping because you were bored and just want something to happen. You can be jumping to have an adventure. All these things are probably going to determine something about what happens after you jump, because these types of desires, either conscious or subconscious, inform reality as to basically what to be like. So answering these questions before you jump means that you'll be more aware of why reality is a certain way around you whenever it shifts. Now, when it comes to step 3, you're going to break reality. And this is pretty easy because humanity's been doing this for like ever. Reality is actually pretty easy to break. So how do you alter your own reality? Now, this is a list of ways that humanity has done this throughout time. Mind-altering substances, Now, this can be as simple as caffeine or alcohol. In some places in the world, you can have like marijuana or mushrooms. Those are a bit higher on the scale of mind alterations, but it really doesn't take too much to achieve a reality shift. So there's substances you can take that change how it is that you think, and it can make it easier to quantum leap. You can do trance or meditation to achieve a certain mental state that makes it much easier to warp reality around you. And this can be done through either breathing techniques or other body relaxation types of techniques. You can go to many guides online on how to do trance and meditations. This one's very easy to achieve if you're good at achieving certain mind states on your own. Then there's hypnosis and psychology if you want something that's a little bit more deliberate than trance and meditation. Often you're achieving the exact same state just with different techniques. Again, hypnosis is just about knowing the steps. You can look this up online very easily. Psychology, you can use things like neuro-linguistic programming to achieve the same things as hypnosis, or to achieve certain types of hypnosis. So if you don't want to do hypnosis specifically, or you're just not going to do it for whatever reason, then you can also use other knowledge of psychology to achieve a mental state where you can go through a reality warp. Now, there's surprise and confusion. It's very common right now that people are playing, say, scary video games, watching horror movies, and these are going to surprise you. They're going to give you jump scares. They're going to cause confusion and just like mind-altering mental states. And you can actually use that experience to warp reality accordingly. Now, is the reality that you're going to warp into going to be very pleasant based on the experience that you started with? I'm not sure, but these are ways that you can alter your own reality. Now, there's theater and ritual, where you can start becoming a different person by acting like a different person. You can go through the effort of doing wardrobe and makeup as well. You can build a set around you. In fact, theater and ritual, a lot of the magic of them is the magic of transforming a space, and then because you have transformed that space, now the space works differently and you can do different things within it. So you can make the space around you into a movie or play set where you can start to act out the reality that you want to warp into. It makes for a really good leaping off point, especially if you can find some sort of setting that really matches the reality. Then you can just start there and go forward. Now, if you don't want to go through all the trouble and production of doing that, you can go to sleep and have a dream. And your dreams can do even better than you can do in reality. In our dreams, we have an unlimited production budget. We don't have to worry about the graphic studios in Hollywood being too busy to put out another Marvel movie. And we can have whatever it is that we want, basically. So in your dreams, especially if you gain control of techniques like lucid dreaming, you can achieve a reality warp very easily because you have unlimited abilities to warp reality already. You can also daydream or simply just use your imagination to think through sort of path work going into a different reality. If you have a powerful enough imagination to envision things or otherwise imagine going through different sensations of different realities, then you can use this as a way to launch into a different reality. And then there's transforming physically. This is something that some of us are going to go ahead and do anyway because some people are trans. They're going to transform physically. Well, you're going to alter your own reality. In fact, that was the point, wasn't it? And then there's, of course, drag. There is theater, as we said before. A lot of people get plastic surgery, and what's interesting is that they're usually doing it to look younger, which means that they're essentially physically transforming into their younger self to become their younger self. You often see kind of a personality change whenever people have plastic surgery, and this is kind of what's happening. They're altering their own reality. So now that we've got a handle on altering our own reality, let's look at the next step. Step 4. Have an experience. And this can sometimes be harder than you think, but I'll break it down for you. An experience transforms you. And, that sounds really deep and like you have to go through a lot, but honestly, you can look at any object in the room, think, how does that object make me feel? And then once you note the feeling that you have from the object, and you take in how it makes you feel, guess what? You have been transformed through the experience of looking at the object. You could do the same thing with, touching the object, listening to music, whatever, but it does not take much to transform you through an experience, because every single time that your brain experiences anything and your body experiences anything, the chemistry in your body and brain changes, and therefore you have been transformed. That's the great thing about alchemy. It's always happening anyway. Now, it's important to understand the nature of transformation. There's you before, and there's you after. The thing about you before is that before, the caterpillar is very capable of doing things in its life as a caterpillar and is alive and is quite happy in its caterpillar life. When it goes through the experience of transformation, the you after becomes a butterfly, which is now going to go through a completely different lifestyle than the caterpillar went through and be happy as a butterfly. But either is in a good state of existence for just generally having a good experience. Now, the problem is if you don't go all the way through transformation, you end up in the middle. Do not stop in the middle. You can see there that none of these are good places for the butterfly to stop. It needs to keep going if it's going to be at the point that it needs to be to transform into. So you need to make sure that whenever you're having an experience, you have a complete experience, you experience a complete transformation. You don't want to stop in the middle because you won't actually get the benefits and the rewards of going through the experience that you set out to go through. So hang around. You might find something that you like. Step 5. Come back. The great thing is this might be the easiest part because we are just like migrating birds in this sense. Let your intuition pull you back home. Birds know where to go whenever they migrate. Birds don't have to worry about migrating. Spiders don't have to worry about weaving their webs. They don't even know that they're going to do it right. They just do it, and they do it right. It just happens. This is something they do based on instinct. And your instinct is going to tell you where your home is and which reality that you belong into. So just let your intuition pull you back home, and you will end up back in the right reality. Relax about it. You don't have to do anything complicated. There's no magical object you have to build or have. There's no special gemstone you have to track down. There's no magic words that you have to speak and no kind of prophecy that you have to memorize. You just let your intuition take over and go from there. It's very easy. It's just like waking up. In fact, when it comes to dream work, it is waking up. Step 6. Total recall. Now, I'm referencing the movie on purpose. If you know the story of the movie, then you kind of already know what it is I'm going to go into in some ways. But basically, total recall is about getting a lot of memories all at once of something you didn't know that you'd experienced before. So the thing is, whenever you're getting memories from an alternate reality that you jumped into or a different body or whatever, you really don't know what to expect whenever you first get the memories. So you're going to assemble the different memories you have from the jump into a cohesive whole and then kind of think about the experience from there. Give yourself some time to really process these and give yourself some time to let them show up, because it might take a few nights to actually have a few dreams about the experience to give you a complete idea of what actually happened. And it might take time for the experience to happen over where it's happening, because once you quantum leap, you may end up having a parallel experience in that reality, as the you that is still behind in your body is also experiencing your own reality. And at some point, your knowledge is going to merge together. It's a lot easier for that to happen if you do it carefully. So there's all kinds of different types of memories you're going to end up with after each jump. And it's always going to be a little different, but here's some things to look out for. So Some things you'll just notice parallels between your life and the jump. You might notice that in the life and the reality that you came from, that you started in, that you have a certain job, and that apparently over in the other reality, you were a completely different gender, you were a completely different appearance, completely different age, but you had the same job. Maybe you have the same model of car. Maybe you have this your best friend in each reality has the same name, but otherwise they're completely different. Those are parallels, and they don't necessarily mean a lot of things, but they just kind of show you how each reality sort of connects to each other, and also kind of just gives you an idea of how you are you in each reality. In some way, everything's always going to be the same because you're you. So then there's memories of your dreams spent in the jump, which means that if you have any dreams that you experience in the parallel or the quantum reality, in the other reality, then you're going to remember those dreams. And since these are memories of dreams, they're going to be different than other types of memories. And there may be things in there that are purely symbolic, or you might end up having people from your current reality end up also be in the alternate reality who probably weren't there. um, Basically, because it's a dream, you're going to understand to some degree that the memories will be a little weird, because dreams are always a little weird in how they present themselves to us. They're always a little bit collage like, and sometimes they're speaking more in symbols than they're speaking in the things that they're actually showing in the dream. So just be cognizant when going through dream memories of that fact. Then there's the memories of the other people that you jumped into, because whenever you jump into another person, that person is going to have memories. And those memories are different than the memories that you have in your own brain, in your own reality. Whenever you jump back into your own brain, you're going to have kind of memories of memories that someone else had. And those are different than your own memories, and you don't want to confuse the two. One of the reasons that you want to organize all of these thoughts is because you don't want to confuse them with each other, and you want to be aware of what kind of thoughts there are. If you know that something is a memory from a dream, then you know that, yeah, it might be a little weird in that memory, but it doesn't mean that like reality itself was like going nuts. It just means that I was dreaming. You can also get sensory impressions as memories, like touch and taste and all of the other types of senses, like maybe just the glimpse of something instead of actually the whole movie of what happened there. You might just see a couple of different images or flashes. And those sensory impressions are kind of just their own type of memory that might form an overall impression of what the reality was like, but might be a little hard to examine microscopically each on their own. There's going to be songs and movies and other types of media that remind you of the jump. Sometimes your brain will be trying to talk to you about a movie that this is like, so that you can get the concept, because this is your subconscious trying to explain something to you. So it's not that another reality was completely like a movie or completely like this one song that you heard this one time. It's just that that's the best way of conveying this information about the other reality to you that your brain and your subconscious can currently come up with. Then there's also going to be things like memory fragments. They don't really seem to form an entire memory, and you can't really make any sense out of them. They're just kind of there, and they don't really fit into anything else. And just, think of those as memory fragments. I kind of like to separate all these different types of thoughts and memories into their own little buckets, and that helps my mind keep everything from getting too confused with each other. If you collect enough memory fragments, or if you focus enough on a memory fragment, you can sometimes pull up the entire memory. It just can take some time. And you need to be careful with that, because focusing too much on memory fragments can give you a headache, for instance, because it's just so much mental work to do. So all of these are different type of memories that you can get from a jump. And once you get a hold of all of these types of impressions, you can start getting your overall sense of what happened during the jump. Now, at some point, you're going to review all of this, and that's going to come in the next step, which is step 7, evolve. This kind of happens whether or not you try, but it's really good to be in direction of your own evolution, especially, your own personal individual evolution, because it's a lot more satisfying than things just happening to you. So, what is evolution but doing it better each time, or doing it different each time? Sometimes something isn't better or just can't be considered better, but it will always be different each time. Things are not always going to be exactly the same every single time that you jump. So, there's a few different ways that this evolution can happen, and I want to talk about 3 of them. There's your own idea of what improvement looks like and how you evolve from that. There's evolution itself's idea of what improvement looks like and how evolution happens from that. And then there's your subconscious's idea of what improvement looks like and how evolution happens from there. So when it comes to your own idea of what improvement looks like, basically, what is it that you want to change? What is it that you want to do better? What is it that you want to experience differently? Figure that out and then consciously think about that, and that's going to feed into your next leap. It's as simple as that. It's just as simple as knowing what it is that you want and making yourself and the reality around you aware of that. Now, whenever I say evolution's idea of what improvement looks like, I don't think that evolution is a person somewhere who thinks about all this stuff and is plotting against you. I think more that there are forces that guide and cause evolution to happen. For instance, the chemistry that causes the replication and changing of DNA. And then there are social forces, there are cultural forces, there are actual physical forces on this earth, lack of resources, distribution of resources, and all these things kind of subtly influence evolution on a grand scale. So all these different forces, that's how evolution is going to act in the world and appear in the world. And that's just stuff you can't change. It's the world that you're in. And it's going to affect what improvements and what changes happen with you, regardless of whatever else happens. And then there's your subconscious's idea of what improvement looks like. And sometimes there's just no telling what this is going to be. You can try to communicate with your subconscious, but the problem is that your subconscious is the part of yourself that is always asleep. So if you consider yourself that is listening to this right now, the part of yourself that's always awake, and that's probably the case unless you put this on and then you fell asleep, in which case, hey, sup, your subconscious is a cool person and you are too. So your subconscious's idea of what improvement looks like is always going to be a bit ineffable because it can't really be known. And this is why it's a good idea to work with your own psychology, do some self-care, really do some looking into your own mind and really get a sense of your identity and where it is that you want to go forward with yourself. Because that's often going to be what your subconscious is going to be acting through. Your subconscious, I don't want to call it selfish, but your subconscious is very focused on yourself because your subconscious's job is kind of to defend yourself whenever you aren't. So all of these 3 factors are going to determine what changes are going to occur each time that you do a leap. But if you're aware of each of them, then you'll be able to guide your evolution and you'll be able to direct your improvement each time that you do a quantum leap. So now we come to step 0. And step 0 is named step 0 because even though I've put it here at the end of things, it is actually a step that can happen at any time. And it is a step that could happen before any of these steps ever happens to begin with. Step 0 is when a jump happens on its own. Anywhere but here. Basically, your fight or flight response kicks in and you enter a different reality because this reality wasn't a place that you could stay. So the thing about anywhere but here is that it happens on its own, and I'm not sure if anyone could ever really do it on purpose because of the mechanisms at play for when it happens. I also really don't encourage anyone to try to do it on purpose because it is such a severe defense mechanism that it causes a jump that is very unpredictable and highly uncontrollable. And there are much better ways to achieve a jump than doing this. So if you're going to do it on purpose, don't do it anything like step 0. Do it like any of the other steps. So an anywhere but here jump. You basically noped out of one reality, and now you're going to enter a reality that is anywhere but where you were. And that is the only criteria for the reality that you're going to enter, other than it's going to be somewhat safer than the reality that you jumped out of. And when I say somewhat, is because sometimes we can't really determine what is better or worse, and sometimes you may just be exchanging one type of danger for a different kind of danger. I'm not saying that it's going to be terrible, just that it's probably going to be way different than anything that you've ever experienced before. And that's all that can really be said because it's so unpredictable. The type of jump that you end up with here is kind of like a nearest neighbor event, except that the nearest neighbor's criteria is also that it needs to be just whatever is safe. So you can end up with like whatever train is available. It doesn't matter where it's going, is kind of what's going on here. So it's very random what can happen after a jump like this, and it will probably be pretty life-altering. So it typically happens alongside events that are already life-altering, so it's not like this is impeding you because it happened. It's more that this happens because your life gets altered, period, and that's how your reality got altered enough that you quantum leaped. Also, I've got to say that whenever one does a quantum leap like this, they typically have like a power boost during it. They might have a few different psychic abilities that don't typically manifest otherwise. And they probably come on in a way that is very Hulk out more than it is controlled and useful. So not only do you get a random type of jump to a random place, but you also get a random amount of power that just kind of unleashes itself randomly. It's the stuff that movies about psychics are made of, and it's something I really don't suggest that you, well, even if you tried, I don't really think that you'd achieve, like I said. So I've known of people trying to get other people to experience this kind of jump, and I want to reiterate, you cannot do this. Instead, what happens is a different kind of jump than this entirely, where someone ends up in basically a very nearby reality. So just jump scaring someone isn't sufficient enough to cause somebody to do an anywhere but here jump. The subconscious knows when it is truly in danger, as opposed to just merely being snuck up on. So don't play with this one. Play with all of the other ones, because you've got so much here that you can do. Let's go over it. To summarize, there's quantum leaping and what it is. Quantum leaping is the projection of one's sense of identity beyond the boundaries of the present personality. To quantum leap, here are the steps. 1. Decide who and where to be. 2. Why are you reality shifting? Understand your purpose. 3. Choose a way to alter your reality to facilitate a leap. This, by the way, is the step that kind of factors in all of the other questions that you answer in the other steps, and all the previous knowledge that you've had from quantum leaps before. You fold it into whenever you choose a way to alter your reality to facilitate a leap. It's not that you find like one method that always works every time and is the best. It's more that each time you're better informed as to how to take the leap next time. So the evolution step is, in a way, present in all of the steps, in my opinion. Step 4, complete a full transformative experience in the new reality. Allow yourself to go through that transformation and allow yourself to have an experience. If you're going to take a vacation in a different reality, take a vacation. Step 5, once you're finished, allow your intuition to pull you back to your original reality. You don't have to worry about getting back to your reality. This is something that instinct will allow you to do very easily. Step 6, assemble your memories and impressions of the trip. It may take time. Allow that time to pass, and allow yourself to take in all of these memories and to assemble them to really get a sense of what happened during this jump. Step 7, each leap will be different. You can guide your evolution and or observe it. So I would suggest keeping a journal, by the way, or otherwise having some sort of record or log of your experiences. For some, journaling may not be the best solution because that's not really how their sense of time works. Other ways of doing it are to just have a social media account where you talk about your experiences so that you can get a sense of your progress over time and so that you can track details over time. It allows you the chance to notice things and compare experiences. Also, it's very good for people to keep records of these experiences because I am a collector and an archivist of books and other materials on these subjects, and there's not a lot out there. So the more that you make of your own experiences, the more knowledge you're passing on to everyone else, and it really is very helpful. And then there's step 8. Some leaps happen on their own. Anywhere but here leaps that happen on their own, they just happen on their own. You can't cause them to happen. They just happen. And it's just like luck, any other kind of random thing happening in your life. It changes your life, and you just, after it happens, determine how it is that you're going to take charge of that change that has happened. And finally, number 9, you've got this. This is something that people do very often. It is an inherent ability in not just humanity, but I think probably all living things, maybe even all non-living things. And I don't want to say normal, because I don't really even know what is normal, but it's just as much a part of reality as everything else around you. Finally, the last step, the final step, step Omega. Like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching this. If you got this far, all the way to the end of the video, you are amazing. You're going to make it. You're going to have the awesomest quantum leap ever. And I just really hope that you enjoyed this video. Ciao.